Dribbling, a skill that is arguably the most important in all of basketball, and it's something that literally every NBA player has to master, except one. Klay Thompson, a 4-time championship winning guard, was a player who simply refused to use his dribble, with performances such as scoring 60 points while only dribbling the ball 11 times, setting an NBA record of making 14 threes in a single night with just 7 dribbles, and even scoring 43 points one game using only 4 dribbles. Klay truly dominated the NBA for 12 seasons with his unique playstyle, and the most shocking part about all this? It all started early in his rookie season with a simple text from an NBA legend. Thompson, who had averaged 45% from 3 and 7.2 points off the bench, would reach out to another legendary shooting guard for advice.
Chris Mullen will text me like, Klay, here's a stat for you. The less you dribble, the more effective you are. I'm like, come on, Molly, I got more than that. And he was like, no. I was the same way.
Yeah.
And I was getting 40 on the Showtime Lakers in the playoffs.
Thompson, applying the help Mullins had provided him, would make 2 interesting changes. Firstly, no longer would he try to force the game to come to him. No, now the Warrior rookie was focused on using his best skill, shooting, to his advantage. If the former Washington State star was open behind the arc, it was an almost guaranteed 3 points. And if he was being guarded, Thompson would move off the ball and try to find openings for 3 or easy layups. However, his second change was the most drastic, because the final adaptation the 11th pick made was his most important. Klay would no longer dribble for the sake of dribbling. Thompson would only ever put the ball on the floor if it was absolutely needed, and instead rely on his length and athleticism to get him close to the hoop. But whilst the rising rookie was reinventing his game, Golden State's management team was about to make a shocking move, one that would change their 2011 top pick's life forever. 13th of March, 2012. As Klay and his Warrior teammates prepared to face off against division rivals, the Sacramento Kings, a shocking headline would appear across the television in their locker room. Their beloved starting shooting guard, Monte Ellis, a former second-round pick who had guided the Warriors ship through rough seas, had been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks in exchange for former 2006 number 1 pick big man Andrew Bogut. Klay Thompson was now an NBA starting shooting guard. Yet, could Thompson really live up to the talent level of Ellis? Well, 11 days after being thrusted into the starting lineup, Klay would showcase what he was truly capable of in another matchup against the Sacramento Kings. Thompson was sprinting off screens for wide open threes, or cutting off his teammates for simple layups at the rim. And this wasn't all, because if the Warriors freshman did ever dribble, it was only ever to attack wide open space, or to place himself in a better spot to score the ball. In the games after his snub from the Rising Stars event and the end of the 2011-12 season, Klay had averaged an impressive 17 points on 40% shooting from 3, clearly not only filling Monte's shoes, but exceeding the expectations placed on him. However, Golden State had finished the season with a terrible 23-win and 43-loss record, but things were about to turn around, all thanks to a certain someone's ankle? Because during the 2012-13 season, Stephen Curry, Golden State's 2009 number 7 pick, was finally healthy after suffering through ankle injury after ankle injury. Steph's new health, plus Thompson's development, meant that the pair would begin to become one of the NBA's best duos, a pairing which was about to earn one of the most iconic nicknames in sporting history. As Brian Witt, a media member of the Warriors, was watching Klay and Steph destroy the Charlotte Bobcats, he would put out a tweet that would change both of their lives forever. Witt, inspired by San Francisco's baseball team, the Oakland A's, and their former dynamic duo of Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire, who were nicknamed the Bash Brothers, would tweet out a new nickname for his own dynamic duo, the Splash Brothers. Golden State, thanks to not only their backcourt but the rise of the rest of their lineup, would finish the season with a record good enough to earn the 6th seed in the Western Conference playoffs. But could a team whose whole game plan revolved around a scrawny point guard and his backcourt running mate that refuses to dribble really win a playoff series? April 23rd, 2013, fueled to avenge their 2-point defeat in Game 1 at the hands of Andre Miller. Man, people really forget how tough Miller was. Anyway, sorry. The Splash Brothers would combine for an epic 51 points. Klay's straight-up refusal to dribble unless he absolutely needed to, combined with the nuclear nature of Steph Curry's game, would stun the Nuggets and their fans by stealing Game 2 on the road. But even more shocking than the pair's incredible night was what their head coach, Mark Jackson, said after the game.
I said they are the greatest shooting backcourt that's ever played this game.
However, while it was Golden State who would upset the number 3 seed Denver Nuggets over the course of the next 4 games, Klay was struggling. Thompson had shot a horrific 20% from 3, and if the Warriors were going to continue their Cinderella run against the San Antonio Spurs, their shooting guard was going to have to get out of his slump, and fast. But as Game 1 of their second round series came to an end, much like their initial matchup against Denver did,
here's Ginobili for 3.
Klay had literally missed every single 3 he attempted. Whilst Thompson would regain some of his confidence in Game 2 by focusing on what Chris Mullin had taught him, something was clearly wrong. The second Splash Brother had only averaged 10.4 points, and instead of allowing the game to come to him, as the Golden State sophomore had done during his career nights, Thompson was instead forcing shots, over dribbling, and playing too much isolation basketball, a strategy which clearly wasn't working. As the clock was running down at the end of Game 6, the final time Klay would be on the court for the 2012-13 season, Thompson realized he had to make a change. Otherwise, Golden State might be looking for someone else to pair with their superstar point guard, and thankfully for Klay, his idol was about to change his life forever. Shanghai, China. Golden State is set to face the Kobe Bryant-led Los Angeles Lakers in a preseason game. However, given the time difference, Thompson was struggling to sleep.
Me and Chris DeMarco couldn't sleep, so we went up to the weight room, and it was just us two. We were like doing dumbbell bench press or whatever, and I just feel a tap on my shoulder, and I looked behind me, and I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" It was Kobe, and he had his black shades on, his hoodie, and all he said to me was, "What's up?" He just dabbed me up and went and did his thing.
Not only would Bryant see firsthand the work ethic Thompson had, Klay would shine in the NBA Global Games preseason event versus the Lakers, which led to the Splash Brothers idol saying this about him.
I remember playing him in the preseason out in China, and I went to go for a workout. It was like 11 o'clock at night. I went in the weight room in the hotel to lift weights, and he was in there by himself lifting weights, you know? And so when I see stuff like that, then that's when I know, you know, he's really takes the game seriously.
But would Klay actually be able to get out of his postseason slump in the 2013-2014 season? Or would the 2013-14 season be the last time Thompson wore a Golden State uniform? October 30th, 2013. As this opening night matchup versus the Lakers progressed, Klay, still refusing to use his dribble unless absolutely needed, would light up his idol squad. Thompson would score 5 threes, shoot an insane 78% from the field, and round out his night with not only a W, but having dropped a brand new career high of 38 points. Thanks to the continued development of their star shooting guard and the all-around dominant nature of their roster, Golden State had improved their record to an impressive 51 win and 31 losses. However, their first round matchup against the rising Los Angeles Clippers would change Klay's career forever. As Thompson, who outside of a couple games during their 2014 run, would continue to struggle in the postseason environment, Klay would once again try way too hard to take the game over, moving away from the style of play Chris Mullin had recommended to him. The second Splash Brother would only average 16 points whilst shooting a horrible 40% from the field, which resulted in the Clippers upsetting the team who many thought would be making a deep playoff run. Golden State began to question if Klay could truly be relied upon to be that second option next to Curry, a question only made more potent by Thompson's lifelong friend, because Kevin Love, the Timberwolves star power forward, had informed his club that he was not going to re-sign in the following offseason, prompting Minnesota to start looking for suitable trade destinations. Bob Myers, the Warriors general manager, seeing the insane potential of placing a shooting big man next to Steph Curry, began flirting with the idea of sending not only Klay Thompson, but Draymond Green to the Timberwolves. Months would pass as Klay sat anxious, reflecting on his playoff struggles as he worked tirelessly to ensure that they would never happen again. And on August 23rd, 2014, Thompson would get the answer he was hoping for.
The Cavaliers and the Timberwolves have agreed in principle to send forward Kevin Love to Cleveland for Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, and a 2015 first-round draft pick.
Yet, had Golden State really made the correct decision in keeping Klay? And are you making the right decision by subscribing to Out of Bounds right now if you aren't already? By subscribing, you directly support the insane amount of hours that goes into every single one of these videos. But if you don't want to, then no worries at all. I'm just happy that you're here. Anyway, back to the video. Well, before Thompson could even step foot onto the Warriors' home Oracle Arena floor, more shocking news would emerge from Golden State. Fan and team favorite head coach Mark Jackson had been fired, and five-time NBA championship winning guard Steve Kerr had been hired to replace him. But why did the Warriors do this? Well, Steve Kerr began tweaking what Golden State was doing, changes that only helped Klay to dominate even more.
Steve helped my game out so much, especially allowing Draymond to be our point forward. Like, Draymond is really the quarterback, and for me and Steph to play off the ball and fully utilize our catch and shoot arsenal, man, it made it so much easier not only for us, but for like Harrison and Bogues. And we went from last in the league to passes made per game to first in one season. And I think that just unlocked everything. And
after the first 20 or 30 games, we felt like, man, we're doing this consistently on a nightly basis. We know it's a long season, it's a process, but we felt like we had something special going.
However, this was just the start of an insane run, because things were about to get even crazier. January 23rd, 2015. In another matchup against division opponent, the Sacramento Kings, the second Splash Brother would slowly begin to heat up. And as Klay stepped foot onto the court for the second half, an impossible NBA record was about to be broken, because Klay's hot hand only got hotter. Not only would Thompson score a couple more buckets, but he would smash the record for the most points scored in a single quarter, dropping a mind-boggling 37 points, all in just the third period. Man, Klay really hated the Sacramento Kings. But the positive news didn't end here. Golden State, thanks to their 42-point night from their star shooting guard in their final game of the regular season, would round out their 2014-15 campaign with a huge 67 wins, a record good enough to earn them the number 1 seed in the Western Conference and placing them as championship favorites. However, there were doubters.
No, I mean, I just don't think Golden State is as good as they were last year. I think losing Landry and Jerry Jack is just a devastating loss for Golden State. But my pick would be the Clippers.
And after Golden State's performance in Game 3 of their first-round matchup, they were seemingly proving those who didn't believe in them right. Because as the third quarter came to a close, thanks to some struggles from behind the line from Golden State, it was the New Orleans Pelicans who held a commanding 20-point lead. But this time around, something was different. Instead of dropping their heads and becoming frustrated, Golden State would come together as a unit, buying in fully to the offensive style Coach Kerr had implemented, a mindset which would help the Warriors climb their way back, just 1 3 away from sending the game into overtime.
He's got it. And Curry will let it go for 3, comes up short, offensive rebound, Curry again, and Curry hits it!
Klay Thompson and his Warrior teammates would continue to fight through overtime, eventually leaving this intense matchup with an important W, a victory which carried over into their next game, resulting in New Orleans being swept out of the first round. Everything seemed to be clicking at the right time for the Warriors, until things took a turn for the worst. The Memphis Grizzlies, known for their grit and grind playstyle, had completely shut down not only Klay, who was shooting a poor 37% from 3, but the whole Warriors in their first 3 games. A defensive performance which meant that Memphis, not Golden State, held the commanding 2-1 lead. However, Steve Kerr had a genius plan, one that would hopefully save the Warriors franchise, because Coach Kerr would simply switch his big man Bogut from guarding Grizzlies center Marc Gasol to defending their forward Tony Allen. But isn't this a terrible idea? Well, Allen was one of the NBA's worst scorers, which meant Bogut could literally ignore Allen on offense, allowing him to sit underneath the rim and defend or block every Memphis shot. Yet, this wasn't the only adjustment Golden State made, because over the next 3 games, unlike his 2 previous trips into the postseason, Klay would turn things around. Thompson would shoot an insane 60% from 3, which, coupled with the Warriors' improved defense thanks to Kerr's changing game plan, saw Golden State overcome their biggest obstacle in Game 6. Not only had the Warriors overcome this challenge, but their success would just keep coming. Also, I know this is a video about Klay Thompson, but every time I see this Steph half-court shot, my mind is just blown, so I wanted to include it anyway. As it took them just 5 games to move past the Houston Rockets in the Western Conference Finals, punching the franchise a ticket for the first time in 40 years to the NBA Finals.
Praise you thought you would not hear in your lifetime. The Golden State Warriors are going to the NBA Finals.
But could they really compete against LeBron James, who had returned to his hometown team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and win an NBA championship? June 9th, 2015. LeBron, despite missing both of his superstar teammates, Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, due to injuries, James has guided his Cavs to hold a commanding 2-1 lead after Game 3. The Warriors' high-powered offense had been shut down. Not even 34 points from Klay in Game 2 could help Golden State to be the one who held the lead. Something had to change, and soon. Therefore, just as he had done against Memphis, Coach Kerr would make a huge move. Andre Iguodala, who had sacrificed his role to come off the bench all season long, was inserted into the starting lineup for Game 4, with Bogut heading to the bench. Steve had unleashed for the first time a small ball lineup in the NBA Finals. However, would this really work? Because Timofey Mozgov, the 7-foot Cavalier big man, would open Cleveland's night with a wide open dunk, and due to the small size of the Warriors, they were relentlessly attacked as the first quarter continued. Perhaps this was truly the end of Golden State. Yet, slowly but surely, the pure speed of the Warriors began to become way too much for the Cavaliers. San Francisco's NBA franchise would either push the ball in transition for easy layups or outrun the slower Cleveland players around a barrage of screens for wide open threes, allowing the Warriors to shockingly come back and win Game 4. While many assumed this was a mere fluke, Coach Kerr's plan proved to be too much for Cleveland, as despite Klay Thompson struggling in Game 5 and fouling out in Game 6, it was the Warriors who were crowned champions of the league for the 2014-15 season. Thompson was ecstatic.
Culmination of years together and guys, 9-10 years in this league to working up for this moment. Man, it's something you dream as a kid.
And this moment of him smiling on the bench became a historic meme, which still brings Klay joy to this day. But things were about to get even crazier in the 2015-16 season, because thanks to 42% shooting from 3 from one of their Splash Brothers would set an unbreakable NBA record. Golden State had eclipsed the 1995-1996 Chicago Bulls' insane 72-10 season by winning 73 games and only losing 9. All the Warriors needed to cap off their insane season was their second championship ring. However, on May 28, 2016, it was their opponent, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who held the vital 3-2 lead in the Western Conference Finals. Golden State was in desperate need of a franchise-altering performance from one of their stars if their season was going to continue. Klay Thompson would begin Game 6 in standard fashion, expertly using the threat of his shooting and efficiently using a single dribble to find himself wide open for 3. The first domino in what would become one of the greatest performances in the history of the NBA, because as this must-win game progressed, Thompson, still refusing to dribble, would score bucket after bucket. It didn't matter how much OKC superstar Kevin Durant fought back.
And Steph told me before I went out in the fourth, this is your time. You know, put on a show out there and have fun. You know, I took those words to heart and I just tried to be aggressive.
Splash Brother Klay would just continue to plunge the Warriors' dagger deeper and deeper into the Thunder's heart. With every bucket, he pushed the Warriors closer to the needed victory. And after a 41-point night, it was the Thunder who would leave Game 6 empty-handed.
2 questions. First one is the greatest game can you think you've ever been a part of?
It has to be, just because the situation we're in, we're down 3-2 and haven't won here in a while. And, we're down 10 at one point. A lot of people probably count us out, and just so much fun to, play with that emotion and that fire we did for the whole 48 minutes. And that's what, playing this game is all about.
Game 6 Klay was born, and in Game 7, things only got better because for the second season in a row, thanks to a 6-3 performance from Klay, it was the Warriors who would be moving on to the NBA Finals. However, their domination was just starting because after just 4 games of the championship series, it was Golden State who held the commanding 3-1 lead, and with Game 5 set to be played at Oracle Arena, a Warrior repeat almost seemed guaranteed. But cracks were beginning to show in San Francisco's NBA franchise's armor, as their power forward, Draymond Green, after getting into a scuffle with Cavalier superstar LeBron James in Game 4, was suspended for Game 5. And when Klay was questioned about the incident, he shared,
I guess his feelings just got hurt.
To make matters worse, Klay Thompson's epic 37-point performance in Game 5 was trumped by one of the most insane performances from a duo in the history of basketball. Both LeBron James and Kyrie Irving had scored 41 points each. How insane is that, by the way? Resulting in Cleveland winning Game 5. Yet, the Warriors had nothing to worry about. If a historic performance from 2 Cavaliers is what it took to defeat them, then so be it. All they needed was to win one more. But Game 6 not only saw Klay struggle, shooting just 25% from 3, but LeBron once again scoring 41 points in Cleveland's victory. However, Golden State still had one clear advantage. Game 7 was going to be played at Oracle Arena, but once again, Thompson would falter, shooting an even worse 20% from 3. And it was late in Game 7 where he would commit the biggest regret of his career.
That's the other biggest regret I have in my basketball career, besides switching that pick and roll with Steph, with Gerard and Kyrie. I still can't, I can't bring myself to watch that footage. It's too uncomfortable, So you watch yourself, I can't believe I just gave him that switch.
That was a big shot.
And now Kyrie got one of the greatest shots in NBA history, and Steph's a great defender too, but I'm just like, man, I can't believe I conceded that switch. It still burns.
Kyrie's incredible sidestep 3 over Curry was the final nail in Golden State's coffin, and Cleveland, not the Warriors, had won the 2016 NBA championship. Klay Thompson was crushed. Everything seemed to be heading in the wrong direction, until something that would shock the whole world happened during the offseason.
Is the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar.
This is a super team being formed, obviously.
But just disappointed that the fact that he weakened another team and he's going to kind of gravy train on a terrific Warriors team.
Thank you! This is a big thank you letter to you, Kevin Durant. You hypocrite!
Golden State now had the greatest starting lineup in the history of the game. 4 NBA All-Stars, all in the prime of their career. However, there's only one basketball, so could this team actually work? Well, on the 6th of December 2016, the Warriors would get their answer, because Klay Thompson would set a brand new career high of 60 points. Yet, this wasn't even the crazy part about this game, because Thompson would set his career high having only dribbled 11 times. And the thing is, it gets even more insane.
For instance, he had 60 on y'all. He didn't play the fourth quarter.
He could have had 80.
Hey.
He could have broke Kobe record, bro. He was that hot. Saying 60 and didn't dribble.
But this wasn't even the most shocking moment of Golden State's season, as the Warriors would once again break a long-standing record which nobody thought would be touched. You see, once Golden State, partly thanks to Klay's 15-point average and willingness to lock up the opposing team's point guard to hide Steph Curry, had unsurprisingly won the 2017 NBA championship. But ever since they signed KD, this was expected. So what's the shocking part? Well, they had done so only losing a single game. While the Los Angeles Lakers had technically achieved the same feat back in 2001, thanks to the extension of the first round from a best of 5 to a best of 7, Golden State had eclipsed their record by a single win.
A lot of hard work. People don't realize, they think it's easy because you win 16-1, but it's not. Hard work.
But this wasn't the best part of Thompson's season, because another version of Klay was born on his trip to China.
We're the champions, motherfucker!
The two-time champion would troll kids in pickup games, miss dunks, and generally just showcase how much fun he was truly having. However, upon arriving back in America, Klay began to understand something very clearly.
I forgot the internet was so worldwide, you know, and it is undefeated.
And the joy was only continuing, because during the 2017-18 season, Thompson, all whilst refusing to dribble, was averaging an insane 44% from 3, an incredible shooting percentage, which aided Golden State in simply blowing out teams before the fourth quarter had even begun. And despite some injuries, the Warriors were once again set to appear in the Western Conference Finals. But on May 24th, 2018, everything would take a turn for the worst. Because throughout Game 5, the Houston Rockets, who had literally built their team just to defeat Golden State, were slowly taking control of the series. The Rockets' switching defense would often shut Golden State down and forced players like Klay, who struggled whenever he took 2 or more dribbles, into one-on-one situations, a strategy which would lead Houston to hold the commanding 3-2 lead. Yet, Klay Thompson was well aware of what game was coming up next. 2 nights later, Oracle Arena, Game 6. Thompson, understanding just how important this victory was for his legacy, would once again come out onto the Oracle Arena floor and begin to score bucket after bucket.
Who comes to life when we go down, when we're facing elimination? Klay Thompson.
It didn't matter how far ahead the Rockets kept getting, Klay would remain focused on the only thing that truly meant something to him: winning championships. And of course, his dog Rocco, which he seems to love more than anything. The former Washington State standout would end Game 6 having dropped an insane 35 points on 64% shooting from 3, all whilst refusing to dribble. Thompson's epic performance had saved the Warriors franchise and only solidified his nickname, Game 6 Klay.
That's probably the most animated I ever was in a basketball game, because I really had my heart and soul in that game for 48 minutes.
But Thompson's incredible night was the least shocking thing that occurred during this series, because what happened in the must-win Game 7 is something that will likely never occur again. 28th of May, 2018, win or go home. Houston, thanks to their incredibly high-powered offense focused around superstar James Harden and surrounding him with elite shooters, would take a commanding 11-point lead heading into the half. But as the Rockets stepped back onto their home floor, a record was about to be set, because in mind-blowing fashion, Houston would miss an insane 27 threes in a row during this must-win game. The Rockets' horrific luck, combined with Golden State's veteran mindset, would allow the Warriors to slowly climb their way back. Klay, thanks to his franchise-saving Game 6 performance and the failures of Houston in Game 7, would see his team punching their ticket to the franchise's 4th straight NBA Finals. So, would the Warriors actually be able to repeat this time? Game 1, Oracle Arena. 6 minutes into the first matchup between Golden State and the Cleveland Cavaliers, J.R. Smith, the Cavs shooting guard, would fall straight onto Klay's ankle, an incident that plunged the Warriors star into intense pain. His series might be completely over. However, Thompson, knowing just how much his team needed him, would get up and refuse to give up. Klay would place his body on the line for his Warriors. And despite his ankle being black and blue, according to Steve Kerr, Thompson would drop 24 points on 50% shooting, an inspiring performance which would help lead his Warriors to escape Game 1 with a victory, and eventually steamroll the weaker Cavaliers to his 3rd NBA championship.
You gave yourself that, bro? It says 3-time champion.
It say 3-time. Oh, snap. Yeah. Klay just Googled himself. It say 3-time champion already. That's dope.
To make things even more crazy, the 2018-19 season was going to be Klay's greatest. Firstly, in a regular season matchup against the Chicago Bulls, Thompson would once again break another NBA record which nobody thought would ever get touched. Klay would not only go out and one-up his teammates' record, dropping 14 threes, but doing so in just 3 quarters and only on 7 dribbles. Yet, this was just one of his 3 incredible achievements. Secondly, a couple of months later against the New York Knicks, Thompson would yet again score an insane amount of no-dribble buckets. Klay would drop 43 points whilst only dribbling the ball 4 times. Truly incredible. Finally, Klay was set to enter his 5th straight NBA Finals. Yet this time, they were facing a different beast, because the Toronto Raptors, now that LeBron James had left the Eastern Conference to play for the Lakers, Lakers, their general manager, Masai Ujiri, had made a stunning trade.
The deal is final. The Spurs will send Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to the Raptors for DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a 2019 first-round pick, league sources tell me.
Kawhi Leonard, thanks to one of the NBA's most shocking game winners.
Is this the dagger?
Also, I'm never going to forget watching this live, sitting in a lecture and having to contain my absolute what the heck just happened excitement. Anyway, had guided the Raptors to their first ever NBA Finals. But this time, it wasn't Golden State who was the favorite. No, Kevin Durant had injured his calf in their second round series against the Rockets, and Klay Thompson had injured his hamstring in their Game 2 victory against Toronto, ruling him out of Game 3. While these minor strains seemed bad, things were only going to get worse, as in spite of Thompson returning to play Game 4 and scoring 28 points on 60% shooting, it was the Raptors who would grab the assertive 3-1 lead. Everything seemed to be going wrong for Golden State, until some incredible news would arrive for the Warriors. Kevin Durant had been cleared to play Game 5. However, as the second quarter began, KD would suffer a career-changing setback, completely rupturing his Achilles and being ruled out of the NBA Finals. Yet, inspired by their superstars' return, Golden State, and specifically their guard who simply refused to dribble, would swing the series back in their favor, winning this elimination game by a single point. To make things even better, Game 6 was going to be played at home in Oracle Arena. June 13th, 2019, Klay was again completely unstoppable. Thompson had incredibly, despite all the odds being stacked against him, scored 28 points as the third quarter was coming to a close. But as the Golden State All-Star went up for a routine fast break dunk, Klay would come down awkwardly on his leg and immediately fall to the ground in intense pain. Thompson was picked up and taken back to the Golden State locker room for assessment until...
I was walking down the tunnel and Luke Laux, one of our assistants at the time, yelled at me you have to shoot these free throws if you want to stay in the game. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to shoot these free throws. 30 sounds way better than 28, especially in a championship game. So I thought it was like a knee sprain or something. I even told Steve, I was like, I just need a couple minutes, man. I'll be back, coach.
However, Klay was ultimately removed from the game after making both of his free throws. And without the player who had been destroying the Raptors' defense, Toronto had upset Golden State's three-peat dreams. Yet, this was only the beginning of Thompson's serious issues, because Klay was diagnosed with a torn ACL and would miss the full 2020-2021 season. But Klay would continue to focus on his rehab and was progressing well as the season went on, until finally he was able to play pickup in preparation for the 2021-2022 season. Until...
Worst possible news for the Warriors. Klay Thompson has suffered a full tear of his right Achilles. He will miss the entire season. He missed last season with an ACL tear in his left knee. This is his right Achilles. And Klay Thompson, now you're looking at a 8 to 10 month rehab. He will miss the entire season.
Klay was broken. He had already spent a full year rehabbing his knee, only to have to do it all over again. And many began to wonder, would he ever come back?
He's back!
941 days is exactly how long it was between Thompson's last time on the court all the way back in Game 6 of 2019 and his return against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Not only would Klay score a solid 17 points on his debut, but what he did late in the second quarter would truly shock everyone.
Allen on a switch. He went to reach, and Klay down the lane!
I'll never forget this night, and I'm so grateful to just compete again.
However, despite the second Splash brother finally returning, doubt that Golden State would ever win another championship returned.
You know what, I hate to say this right now, but to be honest with you, I don't see the Golden State Warriors bringing home another championship. We don't really know how Klay Thompson is going to come back. He's coming off with 2 injuries, a torn ACL and the Achilles. And I know he tore his ACL 2 years ago, but he still haven't got game reps in.
And when the Warriors would lose Game 5 of their second round matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies by an embarrassing 39 points, these haters seemed to be correct. However, the next matchup was not only being played on Golden State's new home floor, the Chase Center, it was also Klay's favorite. Game 6, the Warrior star shooting guard would rise up to the occasion and not only refuse to dribble unless absolutely necessary, but also score an insane 30 points. Klay's epic heroics would finish off the Grizzlies, and after dominating the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals, it would be the Warriors for the 6th time heading to the NBA Finals.
Special, man. Come on. I told you the dynasty wasn't over.
Yet, after 3 intense battles against the scrappy Boston Celtics, a team much like the young Warriors who was loaded with both defensive and offensive talent, Golden State would find themselves once again down 2-1. So, how would they respond? Game 4, TD Garden. Klay Thompson and the rest of his underdog Warriors would walk out onto Boston's home floor with one clear goal in mind: win every single possession, but do it one at a time. And it was this mindset that began to change everything. Stephen Curry, a player who had failed to win Finals MVP in his previous 3 championships, would completely take over this must-win night. Curry, motivated to earn the elusive championship round award, began splashing from all over the court. Yet it was someone else who would step up in the 4th, because Klay would hit 2 huge, as usual, no-dribble threes, allowing Golden State to leave TD Garden with the massive Game 4 W. Yet, was this win a fluke, or had San Francisco's NBA franchise really retaken control of the series? Well, Game 5 would answer that question entirely. The 2011 number 11 pick, wearing his favorite number 11, would light up the Chase Center court with a huge 21 points on 45% shooting from 3. Thompson had proved to not only himself, but the whole NBA world that despite suffering what could have been 2 career-ending injuries back-to-back, that it was possible to not only return, but to dominate on the highest stage of the NBA. Not only had Golden State defeated Boston in Game 5, but Game 6 saw Klay, the Warriors, and especially Steph, literally put the young Celtics to bed.
With 4 titles in the last 8 years, the run is not done. The Golden State Warriors, once again, are NBA champion.
For myself personally, to be here after those 941 days, I'm just so grateful, and I thank God every single day.
However, things would take a dark turn over the next 2 seasons, because not only were the Warriors eliminated in just the second round of the 2023 playoffs, but during the 2023-2024 season, Steve Kerr began to do something that truly shocked Thompson. You see, as the season progressed, the Warriors, not exactly knowing which way to take their roster, would toy with Klay's minutes. Rookie Brandon Podziemski was often chosen to start over his veteran teammate as the season was coming to an end, and if Thompson did begin the night, Brandon would often be the player rounding it out. These sudden changes from Steve Kerr would see Klay begin to rethink his future at Golden State, and given his contract was over at the end of the 2023-2024 season, he began to look elsewhere. But where else could A, give the 4-time champ a legit role, and B, be in the run for his 5th title?
Klay Thompson is on his way to the Dallas Mavericks, I'm told, a 3-year, $50 million deal.
Klay, after watching their incredible NBA Finals run thanks to the domination of Luka Doncic, has decided to sign with the Dallas Mavericks, with his reasoning being very simple.
Well, I think my game complements the roster very well. Space the floor for guys like Luka and Kyrie to do their thing. And
Thompson, despite some initial growing pains, was a perfect addition to the Mavericks squad that was poised to make another serious title run and potentially earn the 4-time champion his 5th Wait, what? Huh? What? Is this real? Oh, it's real. It can't be real. Wait, it's real? I still don't believe this. What? Klay Thompson is one of the most rare NBA players of all time. Not only did he dominate the league by rarely using his dribble, he did so while remaining humble. You would never see Klay complaining about his role or how difficult it truly was to defend the other team's point guard night in and night out. Thompson just showed up, did his job at an incredibly high level, and went home to his dog, Rocco. Also, I would love to know your thoughts about this question. Who do you think has the most beautiful shooting form in the history of the NBA? Personally, I'm torn between Klay and his former coach Steve Kerr, so I would love to know what you think below. By the way, Did you know there was an NBA star who dominated the league for 14 seasons despite literally not being able to score? Insane, right? And to make things even crazier, Tony Allen was actually drafted as a bucket getter. That was until a horrific injury forced him to change his game. To learn more about just how Tony Allen managed to play in the NBA despite missing basketball's most important skill, click the video on your screen now.